welcome to Basketball on Figueroa, the only podcast talking about the Lakers, Clippers, and Sparks. I'm your host, Edwin Garcia, and joining me today, as usual, is Dar E.N. Vaziri, aka Dime Dropper. Dime, we are in the dog days of summer. How you feeling, man?
Dog days. You're making it sound terrible. I'm enjoying every second of having more free time for myself, not having to watch a bunch of NBA games all the time. This is honestly relaxing and I get to, be more active and it's just great. And the weather's good. I mean, I love it. I honestly enjoy every second of it.
Today was the first day that I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing without the NBA around. And I'm already covering the W. I watched the Sun game today, the Sparks Sun, but it's just the absence of it. It's not even the fact that because I'm not missing it. I'm like you, I'm very busy. Any relief is good. We're about to go into a super long, like you said, soon we'll be sick of it or like right in the middle of it that way. But today was the first day, maybe I don't know, I just kind of like hung around. I did some work that I needed to do, and I was kind of like, man, like, all right, the Sparks game's at 4, and then yeah, okay, so but I'm a sickle, so sometimes I just can't get enough. So I'll never get my fill. Is one thing I learned about basketball. So I mean, dog days. It's not ridiculous, especially this summer with the Olympics. It kind of like patched things over. By the time summer league was done and the Olympics were done, we're like a month from training camp or whatever, kind of ramping up more or less. Right, probably like September 27th or something like that. So we're almost there. And as you know, today heavy Sparks. We have a lot of Spark stuff. So I've been blessed to be at crypto for a couple games already now that they're back. And we're going to get right into it. We're going to go in order. So the first game's the Thursday game. I'm going to spill the beans already. They lost every game this week. So it's been absolutely rough. We're going to get into it game by game. And then, overall, I'll talk about like why this is happening, what's alarming, what's not, what's expected, what's not. So we'll start with Sparks Liberty. That was the first game back. They lost 103-68. And this one was the one where like, obviously 103-68, that jumps out, but they were down by as much as 40. They never led. This was one of those games, Dime. I don't know if this happens to you too much with the Sparks. I'm lucky this never happens with the Lakers. We don't get blown out in like 40 piece. It's like the bad losses are like, they're just bad losses, but they're not like embarrassing franchise setting kind of stuff. This is what this kind of loss was. This was the kind of loss where I got messages about this loss for like 2 days. Because there's the people who watched it live. There's the people who caught up later. There's the people the next morning who are like, hey, yo, what's going on over there? And I'm like, man, like this is a really bad. So it was a really bad loss. Almost historic. That's because, again, it was 40. And the thing about this one time that was so frustrating was it's not like it got out of control in the third quarter or in the fourth. It's like, no. It was out of control from the jump. Like they started off on a 10-0 run. They ended the first quarter up 29-10. I think at halftime, they were down by more points than they had scored. And they also gave up a 10-0 run to start the second quarter. So there was 2 10-0 runs in the first 12 minutes. It was just capital B bad, Dime. There weren't too many highlights. Rickea Jackson's probably the only player who can kind of say she did her job. 6 for 13 points. I don't know even the Clippers history enough to know how many like these kind of like ugly losses there have been. But what were your thoughts about this? And have you experienced these kind of things before? What'd you feel when you kind of checked this game out and saw the box score and everything?
Oh man, this felt like varsity versus JV. Like honestly, like there was a team that we were playing that was in a completely different league than we
Yeah.
were. And I think it's something that we have to mention, Ari McDonald gonna probably be out for the foreseeable future, maybe the rest of the season. And she was one of the only positive things we really had going for us offensively. So now you got Crystal Dangerfield starting. You signed Odyssey Sims to the hardship contract is what it's called.
Yeah, 7-day contract. Yeah.
Right. And it's just at this point to me, it feels as though I don't know if we're going to see Lexi again. I don't know if we're going to see Ari again. We're definitely not seeing Cam again. It feels like we're going full on tank mode at this point. I'm not saying that these people aren't actually injured, but I just feel as though if there's a chance for Lexi and Ari to play more games, I don't know if the organization is necessarily going to tell them to play games. I feel as though it's going to be rough from this point from this point forward, Sparks fans. But to me, the main takeaway is to hopefully just see Rickea develop, and also not just Rickea. one of the bright sparks, no pun intended, for us has been Ray Burrell. I think we've talked about her plenty this season, but she's become one of my favorite players, and partially because like her off-court personality seems very bubbly, but she is super energetic on the court. You can see that enthusiasm on the court, and her length and athleticism really shows itself. And I feel as though she can be a part of stuff that we're doing going forward, when our team gets better and we get Cam back next season. And I know the elephant in the room, obviously, hopefully we get Paige next year and she can save us from this doom. But it's not just, I don't want to seem so doom and gloom, because Cam and Rakia are going to be awesome. And this game, I mean, Edwin, we have no chance against these guys, man. Or against these ladies. We have no chance. The Liberty are serious contenders. And without Cam, without Lexi, without Ari, we don't stand a chance.
Yeah, and right now, at the time, the Sparks, I think, were tied for the worst record. Now they're literally the worst record in the W, and the Liberty are number one. They're the top contenders to take the title besides the Aces. It kind of seems like that's the general consensus right now. It's, do you believe the Aces are still going to do it despite being a 4 seed? Or do you think the Liberty, it's their year? It's kind of like those are the two takes. And then like the niche indie take is like, picking Seattle or Connecticut. But right now it's definitely Liberty Aces is what the most popular takes are. So like you said, it's an example of the haves and the have-nots. The Liberty, that's what the number looks like. And the Sparks, that's what the bottom looks like.
No love for the Minnesota Lynx, giving them any chance to win it.
I mentioned them. I said Lynx and Sun are like the niche pick. I don't think they're popular picks.
I thought you said Seattle and Connecticut, but they're all three in there.
Oh, I might have. Yeah, but those are the ones. But I would say the Lynx, same thing. Right now, I think it's either going to be Liberty or Aces. That's why I think it's going to win. Yeah, they might not, depending on the standings, they might just knock each other out earlier. So I'm not saying that's going to be the final, just because that might not even be possible. But I think if you tell me if I get Liberty Aces or the Field, I'm taking Liberty Aces.
Me too.
You can have the rest of them, And there's some good ones. Gabby Williams is joining Seattle now, so they're going for it. The Lynx are very, very good. They've already surprised, I think, all of us for how good they've been.
Well, Connecticut Sun went all in with Marina Mabry. I actually haven't seen them. I haven't seen them play. I know we're going to talk about the Sun later tonight, but I haven't seen Marina suit up for the Sun yet. I'm going to do that like probably tonight or tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, is there anything else to say about the Liberty game? I mean, that was just brutal.
No, yeah, let's move on to the next one, which was Sky Sparks. This one was very interesting. It's the game where Angel Reese showed up to LA, and we've seen the Caitlin Clark effect. People have talked about it everywhere. I don't need to bring up any more attention to Caitlin Clark. There's plenty there, but Reese definitely had a very similar pool, which kind of surprised me because I heard of it and I know it, but like I've never seen it, right? Because she hasn't been in LA yet. She showed up and Dime, it was the same thing. The stadium was just about as packed. I think they didn't open up the right hand 300 level, so that wasn't sold. But I think it wasn't sold because it wasn't for sale. But the other side of 300 was sold. It was sold out. She did a little media scrum pregame. That's very rare for the away team to really have anyone there. I took a picture. It was like 40 people just huddled up asking her questions. I didn't choose to because I didn't feel like I had anything important to ask that wasn't going to be asked by 30 other people. So personally, no shade to anyone, but I didn't want to ask, how does it feel to play in LA? And I'm like, it's fine. I'll let them people do it. But there was a lot of people wanting to do it. There's like 40 people there. People who never go to Sparks games were there. It was that kind of game, like national attention, that kind of energy. And the fans were also there. They weren't as Sky heavy as the Fever fans were Fever heavy. It was like they were there for Reese, but they were like, they respected the place, and it still kind of sounded like a Sparks home game for the most part. But unfortunately, another one where the Sky, won. They won 90 to, believe it was 86. Yes, 86. In this game, for me, I think the thing was, I don't want to give them credit because I saw a lot of people saying, oh, they're so much better than last game. I'm like, well, yeah, it was a 40-point loss. I would assume they played a little better than not a 4-point loss, but a 40-point deficit at one point and a blowout loss. I'm like, yeah, of course they played better. Like, it's kind of hard to play worse. And you already mentioned there, Odyssey Sims, just rushing in here and just like cramming some games in, and Crystal Dangerfield. You don't want to make excuses for losses because of injuries, because plenty of teams have them. But, Kurt Miller did mention, he said our two guards don't know the offense, which is fair because they just got here. So they're just they're playing off vibes, and they really stripped down the playbook because they can't run a lot of stuff, and it's been rough. And Crystal Dangerfield's done a solid job, and I think Odyssey's kind of been struggling. But again, she just got here. Dangerfield had 11 points in this game, and Odyssey Sims just had 2, 1 for 6. So definitely, like, you know, guard play was an issue even when McDonald was there. She was starting to kind of bring it up, and it was like, oh, maybe she can establish herself. Then she got hurt, et cetera, et cetera. But guard play just hasn't been. It's been the biggest struggle, right? When we talk about the good things, it's been a lot of Hamby, Brink when she was in there, Rakia. Like, we're not talking about our guards much. Like you mentioned, Lexi's been out for a while. Now McDonald's out, and he did say, Kurt Miller, Sparks head coach, said for the foreseeable future, which to me means it definitely could be the rest of the year. As you know, Dime, just like in the NBA, they don't like to say the rest of the year because it sounds bad. So they'll just kind of string you along when it's this close. Unless it's something so serious that they know, like a broken leg or something. They're just going to kind of, yeah, if she never played again, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying it's for sure because all we know it's right foot. Like, what? How intense is that ligament damage? Is that just like a sprain? Like, I don't know, and they won't tell us. So we're just kind of stuck with, okay, it's a right foot issue that he did mention that they thought it would kind of turn a corner during the Olympic break, and it just hasn't. So she's out. So that tells me something that they thought she could work through. So it's so whatever that could be, but obviously she hasn't, and now they're just kind of like, that's why they're signing these players and saying, hey, they'll have to make some tough decisions coming up because Dangerfield's already at the max, which is you can only sign 3 7-day contracts, and then you either have to be let go or permanently brought on. If you permanently bring her on, you might have to do some cutting or something. And Sims still has a little bit of leeway because it's only her first 7-day, so maybe they'll run the options through her. Maybe McDonald comes back and they just let some people go. I don't know, but they might have to make some tough choices here. But that's about it for me on this game. The other thing is also, like, again, the fourth quarter was a struggle. This team just struggled to close the game. They had the lead. They were in control, Dime, and then they just let a run happen right away. Like, I think it was like 7-0 run and to start the fourth, and it kind of got rid of their whole lead. They were up by, I think, 10, and then it became like a one-possession game quickly, and that continued the rest of the quarter. They only scored 12 points in the fourth. Like, this team's just finding ways to lose, and when you're up by double figures heading to the fourth, you should be able to take care of that. And they weren't able to. So what did you see from this game? What were your thoughts on this contest?
Game we could have had, should have had. You mentioned the lead we had, got outscored 26-12 in the fourth. When you play the Chicago Sky, one thing you need to be ready for is that you are going to be, fighting and banging with them on the interior with Angel Reese and Cardoso. Or, I can't unhear the way Brazilian soccer player Marta said her name on draft night. Every time I see her, I just hear Camilo Cardoso every time. And dude, I mean, they were pretty dominant on the boards to begin the game, but I think we eased into it. We still got out rebounded though, 42-33. But Crystal Dangerfield, I actually thought she played pretty well in this game. She was doing a decent job in the pick and roll and had 10 points? No, 11 points. So she was giving us some scoring, and one of the first good games in so long from Kia Nurse. And I thought that was part of the reason that we almost won as well. She was hitting her shot. She was 6 of 7 from the foul line, 4 for 9 from the field, 16 points, led the way for us scoring wise. I think it was unfortunate that it just so happened that was the same game as one of the rare games that De'Erica Hamby struggles from the field. 2 for 8. That's not ideal, but a lot of it, Edwin, is something that we've seen all season in the fourth quarters with the Sparks is we don't have a closer. We don't have a player that when the defense gets tighter, the whistle's not being blown, who's getting downhill for us, who's taking people off the dribble, who can create offensive advantages by getting 2 on the ball or something like that. And in the WNBA, it's not the same as the NBA where almost every single high pick and roll gets a good shot, because I see, Kia Nurse is going off the screen and they got that hard hand check and they're getting the defenders getting right back in front. And it's like, you need an elite ball handler, it seems, to create these kind of advantages. And we just do not have that right now. My biggest thing is, and I've been saying this all season, and I get it because it can be rough sometimes when our offense bogs down and becomes stagnant, and Kurt Miller really likes us moving the ball. But I think it also becomes a lot of just passing around the perimeter and not really throwing the ball inside or trying to do something. And, 5 for 9 from the field in this game for Rakia. These are the type of games where we have nothing to lose. We got to try to either her or the coaching staff. We just got to give her more chances to play one-on-one because she clearly is a one-on-one kind of player. And at this point, like, we have nothing to lose. What we have to gain is hopefully her getting some more one-on-one reps. And I feel as though that's just my only criticism. I think a lot of people have been critical of Kurt Miller this year, but my only criticism is just I feel like we don't get enough Rakia straight up like ISOs, like straight up like throw it to the ball. And because our offense isn't good, it's like that's a fact. Our offense isn't good, but it's not because of Kurt Miller. I think our personnel is not good. We've been injured, but we have a player that's a great scorer to be, and I feel as though we just need to give her a little bit more reps. 9 shot attempts is not enough, and in the fourth quarter, we can't create a good shot to save our lives. Really, we should give her the ball more. And my last thing about this game is that I don't mean to pile on her, just my observation of the game, but Azurá Stevens had a rough stretch in this game in the fourth where she missed a 3. She allowed an offensive rebound, turned the ball over. It's just and Azurá is a stretch big, but those really strong centers and forwards, they could give her a tough time. And it was rough. It was rough, but it's tough because we really do compete in a lot of these games.
Yeah. And for me as well, the issue was /is the like you said, the entry passes are very bad. Like in this game, for example, right? I just said they just came off the most embarrassing like loss of the season. And what do? The first possession, 24-second shot clock violation. And it's like they just and it's I saw, like you said, it was pass, can't get it inside, finally do. They have to turn around, try to get a look. There's no time. Tried to get it off, didn't get it off. And I'm like, so I think some of that, like you said, I think overall, Kurt's a good coach. I do like Kurt. He's an incredibly intelligent basketball mind, and he puts in the work. But something's got to give there. They have to find ways to get looks for your best players. Like I said, your best players are not your guards, and that's tough in the league. All leagues are kind of guard wing heavy at this point. That's how basketball goes. It doesn't matter where you're at. You want someone, ideally, decently tall who can handle the ball. That's what you want. And they just really don't have that. So you're going to have to, you have to find ways to get the ball to Hamby. You got to find ways to get one-on-one looks for Rakia, because those are your best players. Like you mentioned, especially in the W, it's such a physical league. You need one of two things if you're a guard. Ideally, you have both, but you need one of two things. You either have to be very physically strong to handle all those hand checks, handle those screens, handle those switches, and shoot over people, or you need to be like Jackie Young, incredibly fast to the point where even that physicality can't really stop you enough because you're just zipping through everything and you could just finish through contact and just fly past it.
Jackie Young, I would argue Jackie Young has both. She's really strong.
She's got both. But when I think about her, just me, I think more about her speed than her strength. But it's a combination, right? She's also strong enough to handle it, and she's so quick that, like, you look and she's got that like just lightning speed. It's really hard to keep up with her. It's exhausting to keep up with her. So you have to try to beat her up, and she's gotten really good at handling that.
Who do you think the quickest guard with the ball in their hands in the league is?
Ooh.
I know it's putting you on the spot there, but it's no wrong answer, I don't think.
I like Lloyd. Lloyd's pretty quick.
She needs the quickest at this age?
Maybe not the quickest. I would probably go maybe Young.
Okay. I think
Young's really fast off ball though, when I think about it. A little bit more off ball than on ball. But she's quick.
I think Kennedy Carter is the fastest with the ball in her hands. She's lightning.
She's really fast. Yeah,
Kelsey Mitchell's up there too from the Fever.
Yeah, Mitchell's up there too.
That would be my two choices.
Yeah, Kennedy's pretty fast. I feel like she can't handle strength as much though. So I think Young's probably a better combo of the two.
No, she's a much better player, but I just think with the speed, just raw speed with the ball in her hands, she's like pretty crazy. But yeah.
All right, and then the next game we're going to is Sparks Aces. Again, another loss. This one obviously had a lot of drama. 87-71, the Aces won. Some of the drama here is obviously the fact that Hamby just filed a suit against Hammond and the league really about how her trade was handled and how she felt like it was discrimination, et cetera, et cetera. We talked about that before. Obviously, nothing new has developed. It's been kind of quiet. But Becky did say, like, it's not true, this and that. Didn't happen. And, kind of left it there. So I don't really want to talk too much about that specifically. But I definitely didn't like the fact that, I don't know. I know you watched part of it, Dime, but the fans were booing every time she touched the ball. And my beef with that was not the fact they were booing. Well, it was the booing, but why they were booing, because they haven't really booed her before. If they were booing her this whole time, I'd be like, okay, I get it. they're booing her because, they don't like that she's gone or whatever, or she's the enemy. I understand that, right? But it's like you didn't boo her, 2 months ago. You're booing her now. Are you booing because she's suing? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So, like, for me, that was a problem. And there was obviously a lot of hoopla on Twitter about it. Like, is it okay? Is it not okay? It's just fans. It's not anything to do with that. So, Dime, how did you feel about that? Did you notice that, when you were watching the game, the parts that you did catch?
I actually didn't, honestly, but when I watched the second half, I'm going to pay attention to it.
Yeah. She was getting a lot of boo birds there. So that was, to me, it just was poor taste. I didn't like it. But anyway, that was just one aspect of the game. At the end of the day, the Aces, they dominated. They took care of business. This one was one where, for me personally, they hung around longer than I thought they would. I know that they've had success, but I'm like, not that the success is a coincidence, but I'm like, I just think those are surprising games. Like, I don't know if we could really like take this team on like that. And this one was more of what you'd expect, where the Sparks gave a good run, they hung around, and then later in that second half, the Aces quality just kind of showed, and it overwhelmed them just a little bit, and enough to create enough distance to feel comfortable and close it out. So not a bad loss given the other ones we've had, and this one was definitely competitive for the majority of the game. I think some people did think, oh yeah, people kept thinking, oh, the Aces are going to get revenge. They're going to just beat the brakes off of them and stuff. And that didn't really happen. They didn't really like secure the result until later in the second half. So it was good effort. Again, another great Rakia game. This one was really good. 7 for 11 Dime, 15 points. She's really was just scoring, got some good rebounds too, which you like to see, 5 rebounds. A Hamby better game. Double, 13 points, 11 rebounds. The shooting wasn't really there. She made her money kind of on the free throw line and getting the rebounds, but it was solid. Dangerfield, again, 9 points, 3 for 9. And Zaya Cook, I want to talk about her for a minute because that's a player. We just talked about the poor guard play. She only played 2 minutes in this game. She's gotten a lot of DMPs recently. Do you think Zaya Cook should be getting minutes? Have you seen enough to think that they should try that? You've mentioned, hey, just try something else. Or is there a reason that you feel like, obviously, Kurt Mitter's seeing something, he's like, hey, like, it doesn't matter, she can't get minutes? Because she's right now, basically the language I'm taking is, you'd rather just take players off the street and give them some run than Zaya Cook, who you drafted a couple years ago. So what are your thoughts on the Zaya Cook situation?
I am going to apologize to any Gamecock fans, but every time I've seen Zaya play this season, and I've only missed one game this season. Well, right now it's 3 technically because I haven't seen the Vegas game in full and the Sun game, but it will be only one game missed, which is at Merck, one of the games in Phoenix.
And she only played 2 minutes, so you didn't miss too many Zaya Cook minutes.
Right.
So
every time I've seen her take the court for us this season, I feel like I've given her a chance, and she just comes in and bricks every shot. Layup, 3, every shot doesn't go in, and she's not giving us anything on the other end. So I have no reason to disagree with anything that Coach Miller's doing in terms of not playing her. That is nothing against her. I don't know her. I have nothing against her at all. I wish she'd come in and get buckets, but she's gotten some chances, and she's not shown anything to say that she can be a good player in the WNBA. That's the honest truth.
Yeah, no, unfortunately I have to agree with you as well. She's had moments, but they're very sparse. Like, her first game last year was pretty good. She had a couple games late last year that were also pretty good. But I mean, 2 years in, we can't be talking about her sensational 12-point debut in 2023. Like, it's just, at some point, it's got to be what's happening now. The devil's advocate part of that would be, well, she hasn't had a chance, blah, blah, blah. But like you said, the minutes haven't been that good. And it's hard, you gotta earn your minutes, and you gotta get them, and you gotta get the run. Now, Ray Burrell was in a similar situation earlier in the season. She got some run, started showing it, but I always thought Ray Burrell should have been playing regardless. So that's a whole nother story. So I think it's a similar scenario, but I think that was a better player who also wasn't getting a look. So I think as time goes on here, Zaya probably will get some look here. This league's tough. If you could be out of a job quickly, if they just don't think you can do it. And I saw some people say, well, they should trade her. I'm like, her stock is ridiculous. No one's trading for Zaya. You wouldn't even give like a last pick right now for Zaya. Why would you give anything? There's no reason to. You have no incentive to, unless you have some secret tape. No one else knows about how brilliant she's been. So it's just a tough thing right now. Hopefully, as a player, she's keeping her head sharp and being ready, because I'm sure she will get some run here at some point, especially if they end up getting mathematically eliminated early, I think there will be some games where Kurt says, you know what, you're playing 20 minutes tonight. Let's see, let's see. So there'll be some opportunities, but I'm with you. I trust him, and I haven't seen anything that makes me think I should think something else. So that's the situation. But yeah, that's been the scenario there. That was the third loss. And now we have this game. Dime, I am a Boston hater, a Celtic hater. And I didn't think it would come out of me today, but oh boy, did it. Because the Sparks and the Sun played at the Garden, the home of the Boston Celtics. And yeah, they did.
Whoa, Edwin. You're going to really call it the Garden, man? You're going to give him that much credit?
TD Garden.
Thank you.
Garden. There you go. All right, yeah.
Only if Boston Garden, the original, was still a thing. And I've been to TD Garden 3 times. It's a nice stadium. But I'm
sorry to hear that.
It's dope. It's dope. Not as nice as Staples Center, but it's a good place to watch a game. If it was the Boston Garden that was still around, then we could make a case that that's the Garden. But right now, the Garden is Madison Square Garden. Continue.
Okay, fine. Thank you for correcting me. More slander. The TD Garden, and it was Celtified. You know what I mean? They had Drew Holiday out there. I think Jason Tatum saw that floor more than he did the floor in Paris.
Drew Holiday might be a Sparks fan for all we know. He's from
he might be. Yeah. Cali guy right there for
Not
sure.
Just the Cali guy, LA guy, Campbell Hall.
Yes. Yeah. I've read some articles that were really cool during that time of before the Olympics. Like, all the Cali connections with Team USA and stuff. And yes, Drew's a real one over here. But he was, I think he did have like a Celtics hoodie, so you know how that stuff goes, if I remember correctly. But he was there. There's a couple other Boston people there. They were cheering at one point midway through the game. I think in the fourth quarter, actually, if I remember correctly. It got away from the Sparks. Spoilers, they lost. The Sun are also very good, 61-69. It wasn't like they kept fighting. Again, same story. They kept fighting in the fourth quarter. They finally pulled away around the midway point in the fourth quarter. So it took a while for the Sun to secure the game, but it happened around the 4 or 5 minute mark. And what did I hear, Dime? What did I hear? Beat LA chance.
I knew
beat LA chance.
That. I didn't
beat LA chance. And that's when I got triggered. I was like, you know what? Screw this team. I didn't even know I had a beef with Connecticut Sun. I'm like, man, you live 2 hours away, whatever.
Hey, Edwin, I went to school in Massachusetts for 3 years. I have a bunch of friends. Basically, I have more friends from Massachusetts now than I have here, straight up, because of college. None of them, till about a couple of months ago, and I was joking about the fact that I'm going to be really watching the Sparks this year, and I'm doing this show with you. For the first time, I heard about the Connecticut Sun from a friend. For the first time. I've known these guys for 4 or 5 years at this point. They never mention them. So, yeah, man. I mean,
the beef is there. They're like, okay, yeah. They found the way. They found the hate in their heart to be like, you know what? Yeah. Carrington's really good, Dwight Bonner.
Carrington is
really good. And they were really good. Yeah, it was. And I think Kurtz had enough. He got ejected, and he definitely deserved it. With like about 90 seconds left in the game, there was like a foul in the post they didn't call. And he literally runs onto the court while the possession is still going on, and he yells in front of the ref, "That's a foul!" Like, he stops the ref from continuing to walk. So the ref looks at him. He's like, "Double eject, get out of here!"
Was the game close enough for him to get mad about something like that?
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 points at the time when he did it. Yeah, but it was like 90 seconds left, so it was kind of like over.
That sounds like we made it a good game, though.
We did. But here, let me see if I can. Here, let me.
The Sun are really, really good. Like,
oh yeah, for sure. Can I? Okay, I put it in our chat, in our live chat here that only you and I can see. So if you want to click on it or mute it and see it, I don't know if it's got any audio, you can just see the video there. He was done with it. So it was pretty intense there. So again, it's been frustrations, a lot of losses here, and it's the fourth loss. And I think one thing for me that stood out as well was a struggle game for Hanvey. She was 4 for 9, but she only got 9 points. And I've noticed this for the most part, the Olympic people have kind of just rolled into it. Miller made the joke that none of them know where they are right now. Because remember, Kurt Miller was also the assistant coach for Team USA. So he got a gold medal and he was also there. And he also experienced it, right? Prepping and preparing and, game planning, practice, all that stuff. So he was right there. And he's like, oh, yeah, I don't even know where I am right now. Like, I'm just like, it's just the jet lag, and then right away we had games, and we've had a lot of games back to backs, 4 games in like 6 nights or whatever it's been. So it's been a lot. We just reviewed 4 games, right? So as you can tell, it's been really quick. And for the most part, I haven't really noticed any fatigue or anything with the players. But Hamby kind of has had like 3 performances that were a little subpar, and I think maybe she's feeling it, right? I don't know. But that's what I get when I see these. She was so consistent prior to this. She was steady as you could set your clock to. She's going to get a double. She's going to be efficient. She's going to get her buckets. And the last couple games, it's been a little rough. And that's what I'm thinking. That maybe she's just a little winded. Needs like a couple extra days. I don't know if they can find a way to give her one, given how late into the season we are. But did you get that feeling, or do you get the feeling she's just struggling and it's not really related at all to competing in 3x3 and all that?
It might be, man. 3-on-3 is tough. It's very taxing, and she had to travel, and there was no break for her. So it very well could be. And she's been playing so many minutes and playing so hard every game. I mean, and plus being a mom, like she's got a lot going on.
Yeah, and she had 32 minutes. That's the second most in the Sparks game tonight, minus Rikia, who had 34. And Rikia's just been so fun. I've been loving seeing all the tweets of people being like, "Oh, Rikia's so great." Like I saw one play she did today. I think she got the ball I think near the free throw line. She got the ball. She made her move. She went right. She tried to create some separation with a little back down shoulder action. It didn't really work. She still did her spin around jumper with her one leg sticking out, but she no separation really. And then she kind of had a little contact and she fell down, but she still made the bucket. It was a tough bucket. And I think actually she almost fell, but she kind of caught her balance and started walking backwards. And then she just started laughing. How did I not get a foul called? And also, how did I hit that? That was kind of crazy. It was a bad shot, but I hit it. And she's just laughing. I'm like, that's for Kia. And people were like, oh man, such a nasty shot. Because it just was a brutally hard mid-range, falling down. I got fouled jumper and hit it smooth. Again, just really, really fun. And that, like you said, it's one of the morsels of positivity. Has been Rakia's looking really good. And I mentioned it in one of my articles for Swish Appeal that I wrote last night. It was published today, is that yes, Caitlin Clark, Reese, even Brink, they're the generational, all that stuff. Jackson's putting up numbers now where she's in the mix there. She may not be better than those two or more popular than those two, but when you're just walking onto a team and dropping 15 consistently like she has the last 4 or 5 games, if she does this the rest of the way, you're gonna have to be that's a top player, and again, someone you can build around. So Hamby, Brink, Jackson, and we'll see what happens. Paige, that 4 is a 4 right there. And Absolutely. You can just get a knockdown shooter, and you're good. You're good to go. You're definitely looking at playoffs next year for sure. So we'll see, but that's where things are now. So Dime, before we go into previewing the upcoming games, I want to do something that I know you're not the biggest fan of, but I'm a big fan of, and that's look at the schedule, baby. Because like I told you, I was I think the schedule's coming out Friday. Then I heard Thursday, and it was Thursday. And of course, it came out. Now, I'm a Locked On Clippers listener, Dime. So I did listen to your whole pod. So I already know a lot of your takes here on the schedule. And I know what you've mentioned already about the fact that you guys have the most, back-to-backs, the Clippers do, but there's a lot of teams that have the same number, so it's not that big a deal, right? And definitely you, as along with a lot of Clipper fans, I heard was oh, thank goodness, no matinees, no matinees. Of course, some people like the matinees, some people need them, but for the most part, no one wants them. They want a later start time so they can get to the games, so they can watch the games. It's the reason why most games start at 7. You have people who work 9 to 5s, have kids in school and after school activity. You want some time to be able to go and to check it out. And it's just not fun to rush through. And same thing with those Sunday 12:30 games. They're awful. It's not the normal time. Players are out of rhythm. They have to do everything way earlier. It's just routine. It would be like if all of a sudden next year, a school year had 12 days where you had to come in at 4:30 to start the game day. You'd be like, what are we doing on these days? Why are we having night school on a regular? It would just be weird, right? You'd be like, we're just used to a certain way. This is throwing everything off. So definitely happy for y'all with that. Are there any matchups? We'll start with there. are there any matchups you're already looking forward to? Because I know you mentioned, hey, we got to beat everybody, championship mentality. But are there any ones you're like, you know what? I'm circling my calendar. These are the ones I'm kind of curious about with the Clippers.
Yeah, just 2 games. Opening night, first game of the Intuit Dome against the Phoenix Buns. I mean, come on, Edwin. It couldn't get better than that, right?
It's like you wrote it.
Yeah, for real. I mean, KD and Devin Booker get the honor of losing the first game of the Intuit Dome will be special. Hopefully. I mean, it would be a disaster if we didn't beat them. We'll see how the atmosphere is like. That's when we're going to really be able to tell, because preseason, I mean, we'll see. What do you think, Edwin? You think the Clippers will sell out preseason because it's a new stadium, or do you think it's still preseason? There's no way it'll sell out because preseason NBA games don't sell out.
I think they will sell out. I think they'll make sure they sell out. And I think that the curiosity will definitely be there. I'm looking up their preseason schedule because the Lakers have a really weird one. They're kind of just going everywhere. The Lakers are in. Yeah, you guys are doing the same thing. Actually, you only have one in the Intuit Dome on October 14th and October 17th. Okay,
So
cool.
2.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry. Yes, you have 2, not 1. You have 2. The last 2 are going to be at the Intuit Dome. The Lakers, I don't think they're playing any preseason games in crypto. They're playing in Vegas and they're playing in Palm Springs. So
Palm Springs, wow.
Yeah, they're going to Palm Springs. I forgot the name of the stadium. So it's an A. So yeah, they're doing weird stuff, which makes sense for the Lakers, just like you mentioned, right? Like you're just not going to spend money on a preseason game, and they can be very expensive and yada yada, right? So what the Lakers do to kind of zag is like, well, let's go to markets and areas we don't go to, because people in Palm Springs, they will pay because they're like, well, they're literally never here. It's kind of cool. I don't have to drive 2 hours to go to a Laker game. I can just go here, And same thing with Vegas. They don't have an NBA team, so it's spicy enough to probably fill most of it. Compared to a crypto, they'll be like, why don't we just go in 2 weeks when it's an actual basketball game, So Clippers are going to have that problem too. I don't think they'll have that problem this first time around. I think it's a new stadium. There's enough people excited. If you bring the price down, make it affordable, which I think they will do. And I think like on StubHub and stuff, there'll probably be some affordable tickets. And I think if they don't sell it out, it'll be pretty packed and you'll be like, wow, it's a lot of people for, a preseason game. So I think they will take care of it there. For me, obviously, I'll most likely be at the Intuit Dome for the first Lakers Clippers matchup. And I'll be very curious to see what happens. Does it become Crypto South? Do we take it over? Is it still more your place and we're there, but like it's a little more 50-50? And obviously I want to check out the stadium. I'm not gonna be one of those people who pretends it's not amazing. Of course it's gonna be amazing. Of course it's gonna be great. It's like when your friend has a new car. Even if you have a Lexus, if you have like a 10-year-old Lexus and he's got a brand new Toyota, his brand new Toyota is going to look better because it's a brand new Toyota, and a 10-year the gap's too big. I saw some people mention that with like the scoreboard and stuff, like, oh, it's not the hollow thing. I'm like, yes, it's not going to be that. Like, the point of crypto making renovations is try to spruce it up and not let it be ancient, right? They're not like, oh, we have the Intuit Dome at home. Like that's not going to happen. Like you only get something like that by literally breaking ground and starting something new. So Lakers are doing their thing. They're trying to make it better. I've seen some of the improvements. I know you've seen them. The new scoreboard.
Well, what do you think about the new Jumbotron?
I like it a lot. It's really good. I honestly I think it's really, really sharp. It looks way better. I like the overall view. It's nice and like it doesn't have like those boxy edges anymore and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed it. And I think it's got a really, really nice bright color. Like I didn't realize how I checked out this one and I'm like, yeah, it's really good. So I think they did a great job with that. They're also doing a bunch of stuff with the floor out and kind of swap them out. So there's a few more Shaq Kobe images, and I'm going to kind of keep an eye on what they're doing overall to kind of upgrade the area. So they've done a good job, and I really like the scoreboard. I think it was a good win for the Lakers updating that part. So, and I'm definitely curious to see obviously what's going on at Intuit Dome and that when the Lakers play the Clippers, and I'll most likely be there. Not sure yet because I gotta talk to like the Clippers people and see if they'll let us do it and all that. But we did last time when it was a crypto game for the Clippers. So I think I'll be there, but I won't know for sure until we're a little closer to that date. And
well, there's one other game though, Edwin, that I mentioned about by circling. Paul George's return, November 6th. I will be there, and we will be there loud.
Yeah, the wall. It's going to be interesting. I think it'll be same thing. I think it'll be contentious. I think he'll get a tribute. And
speaking of which, I should shameless plug it. I literally posted a video today, ladies and gentlemen, on my channel all Paul George game winners with the Clippers. I even included 1 or 2 other clutch shots under 10 seconds, but I figured I would rather make this video before anyone else, like some outlet make it. So every Paul George game winner with the Clippers. It might be too soon for some of you, but it's just a chapter of our history. And I just wanted to make it a video because I don't want anyone else to do it. So check that out.
Yeah, I know that's a great idea. Like, I think that's a good idea. And yeah, it is part of the history, right? Like, we talk about, I talked with one of the Lakers people about preserving history, that we have to do a better job because, as you know, going through your, like, history of the NBA, it's hard when things aren't taken care of. And it'll be even small things that you won't think are important. Like, how were the Melo years on the Lakers? Right now you might be like, who cares? He was like a rotation player at the end of his career, but
Wasn't
he
it
had
just
like
1
that.
year?
I think, yeah, it was just 1 year. But it's a memorable year. He had like 11 threes one game. It was a fun time, and like even just having like videos of that, documentation of that, like articles that recap that are saved somewhere where we can always refer to it. It's little stuff like that that kind of gets lost, in the weeds. And the next thing you know, 5 years from now, you're like, how many game winners did he get? How many? Like, I don't remember. And it just, things like that quickly get lost. So I think it's good, even just from a preservation standpoint, to say, hey, this is like one specific area of the game, which is like game-winning shots, and this is what he did in those scenarios. These are the ones that happened. So I think it was a great idea. It's a cool idea. All right, so for the Lakers, obviously, I'm circling stuff, I'm highlighting stuff, I'm seeing how my year's gonna look, and all that. For me, there's a couple ones I'm always excited about. I'm always excited to play against the Celtics. That's always going to be an interesting game. So I always have that one penciled in. There's also, let me pull up here the matchups that I think are like the most interesting, because Celtics is definitely one. I already mentioned the Clippers game, which of course, that's both of our interest because they're both teams that we're like checking out. And for the Celtics, the first time they're going to play the Celtics here, let me see where I have the date for that. Let me pull it up real quick. Okay, so first Celtics game is going to be on January 23rd. So we'll have to wait till we get into the actual new year. But that's the first one. That one I'm looking forward to. I'm also looking forward to early in the season. They're going to play the Suns October 28th. So I'm looking forward to that because I think the Suns are going to be a better team this year than they were last year. I think they're going to get off to a better start. So it's always good to have those games that kind of, check where you're at with the top teams in the West. And I'm not sure how good the Suns are going to be, but I think they're going to be better. So I kind of think they're, quote unquote, maybe a top team. The Nuggets, of course, can JJ Redick, figure out how to beat that team? That would matter a lot. Yeah. And then there's other games like, we have the Lakers playing the Kings on October 26th. That's going to be interesting. The Lakers are going to play the Grizzlies on November 6th. That's one I want to watch. The Lakers playing the Mavericks on January 7th, Klay Thompson game. So those are a few that I'm looking forward to. But let you Dime. At the end of the day, it's going to even out. You're going to like some parts of the schedule. You're going to hate some parts of the schedule. Some parts are going to be hard. Some parts will be easy. Everyone plays 82. Everyone plays the same amount of games at home and away. And the funny thing about strength of schedule, some games now that look easy will be hard, and some games that look hard now will be easy. So it all depends on, injuries and teams that surprise us, teams that disappoint us. So don't freak out too much about it. For me, it's more now as fans, we can see what our schedule looks like. We can see what our weeks look like, what Christmas looks like. And, when I was a fan and I didn't do this for a job, I would also highlight, okay, I'm going to try to go to this game. I'm going to try to go to this game. I would always try to game the system too. I'd be like, I'm trying to save money, right? Going to the game, like, I think Lakers Rockets on a Tuesday. No one's going to want to go to that. Maybe I can get a better seat, on that one. And like, that's how I would do it. I would aim for going like about once a month. And I would just try to hit up the key games that I thought like, okay, these ones will be like more bang for my buck. Or you know what? I'm going to spend a little money on this one because I really want to go. If I was a fan, maybe I'd be like, you know what? I really want to make sure I'm there when Coop's jersey goes up. I'm going to save up some money for that. And I'll go to
we have to acknowledge that. I've been
that happened. That happened during the gap year, so we're good. It happened on the 15th, so a couple of days ago. When the now, yeah. So let me go ahead and set that up here. So when the Lakers announced the schedule, they sent out a press release, kind of saying, "Hey, here's the schedule, blah blah blah," and they didn't bury it. But part of that press release was, Oh, and also on the 13th, we're going to commemorate Michael Cooper getting his jersey retired. So it was like, wait, what? I was reading it midway through. I'm like, oh, snap. Like, this is how you're announcing it? Like, and then of course, they wrote some words about his career, et cetera, et cetera. And I wrote about this for Silver Screen and Roll, to make sure everyone else know, hey, Coop going in the Hall of Fame later on this year and later in 2025, January 13th, against the Spurs. He's going to get his number hanging in the rafters forever, number 21. So excited for Cooper. I'm gonna let you get a moment here, Dime, because Cooper matters a lot to just basketball history and kind of the way he plays. So why are you so hyped to see Coop get his flowers and get his jersey up there?
I've been advocating for this for a long time because I think Michael Cooper is the greatest sixth man that's never been an all-star. So, I'm not counting McHale. I'm not counting Havlicek or Manu. I'm counting Michael Cooper, Jamal Crawford, Lou Williams. And look, you could be saying this is sacrilegious for me to say this, but I'm an honest basketball fan. The guys that can go 1 for 7 in a game and still contribute, those kind of role players are the ones that win chips. Michael Cooper was a guy that could shoot threes before a lot of people were doing it. He was an above the rim player. He'll guard your best player. He can play point guard, and he's taller than your average point guard. Extremely versatile player. Great athlete. And the thing about Coop that to me makes him non-negotiable Laker jersey retirement is like, if you put that resume with any other franchise, including the Celtics, it would be a no-brainer. 5 rings. You only played for that team. You had an integral part in the greatest dynasty for me ever. If we're talking about entertainment plus success in the history of the league. And he's also just like such a Laker. Like, if you cut that guy, purple and gold will come gushing out of his skin. This guy is still on Sports Zone on ABC. He reps the Lakers so hard even now, and he only played for one team. He's Laker through and through. He's as LA as it gets. I mean, I'm pretty sure he went to community college around here as well. Like, the Lakers have that Hall of Fame rule. So that's why I was like, I don't know if Coop's good enough to be in the Hall of Fame, but as we know, the Basketball Hall of Fame is a little lenient, and they really respect champions. And Coop is obviously a 5-time champion. So when I saw that Michael Cooper had finally gotten inducted, I was like, oh my God, that means that, you know what that means? That the number's going up. And can I just say how disgusted I was as a Showtime fan that J.R. Smith was wearing 21 in the bubble, dude? I was literally like, are you crazy? Like, I was honestly, I can't lie to you, Edwin. Even when I see a Laker jersey number 2, it doesn't sit right with me. I think Fisher is in this same conversation with Coop. He won't make the Hall of Fame, in my opinion, because I think Coop, what stands out about him is he won Sixth Man of the Year he won Defensive Player of the Year as a bench player. He's the only person in the history of the league to do that. I'm pretty sure. So, like, that's part of his Hall of Fame case. But Derek Fisher, he probably won't make the Hall of Fame. But, like, if you're telling me that doesn't have the number retirement case for the Lakers, I mean, he and Kobe's stories are intertwined. So I don't know. Before you say anything about Coop, by the way, I'm going to be there that night. I want to be there. I've been saying I want to be there. I think I care more than most Laker fans under the age of 30 about this. I want to be there. Just this experience a number retirement, but also to be there for Coop and support him and hopefully I'll have met him by then because his son plays for Pepperdine and I still work for the school part-time. So I went to one game last season and he just happened to be getting some kind of honor in New Mexico for his university. He just wasn't there for Nils' game. So next time I'm at Pepperdine for a Pepperdine game, hopefully I'll have a conversation with Coop and everyone says he's a great guy. And also just seems like he was that glue guy in the locker room back in the day, according to so many players. So every championship team needs a Coop. But I also want to pass it to you about Coop, but also Fish.
So, yeah, obviously with Coop, the unwritten rule, you have to be in the Hall of Fame before you're considered. And I think 2 things. 1, it makes sense. That's just kind of the unwritten rule they have. And 2, this proves that that's all that was holding them back because the minute they had a chance, they were like, okay, boom, we're doing it. That the first season we have the opportunity to. He's still technically not even in. I mean, he's already been accepted. It's just a formality at this point. The date has to show up. But they're like, we're not even going to wait. No, it's all good. Let's do it. So I think that proves that. He's been advocated by everyone. Worthy's mentioned it many times. Magic's mentioned it. Pretty much everyone agrees. So it was just a matter of getting in there and then we got you, and now they got him. So yeah, it's great for people to give the flowers. I'm excited for that day. It'll be the only time where I won't like leave my seat at halftime. Usually, we've talked about it, right? I go there, I go
Oh,
get my coffee, I refresh. I'm not gonna do any of that stuff. I'm gonna stay right there and see the ceremony in person, and obviously write about it. That'll be what I'm covering it, but I'll be excited for that. I'll be seated and I'm not leaving. We're gonna check out the whole thing. It's gonna be great. For Fisher, you're right. I think for any other franchise, well, he definitely has a case, but I think for any other franchise, he probably wouldn't even get in, right? Because he was so important. The problem is, comparing the two, Cooper was the best at his spot, and like Fisher was like a star in the role doing the dirty work, but he wasn't like elite at something to the point where you're like, oh, he's a Hall of Fame guy, which is why he won't be in the Hall of Fame, right? He's in the Hall of incredibly good for the Lakers, and I think maybe worthy of it if they didn't have that rule. But also with the Lakers, as you know, there's just so many players. You don't want to get to the point where everyone's numbers retired, who wins titles. And it's like, okay, well now we don't got any numbers, so they do have to be a little picky, I think, and that's why someone like Fisher wouldn't get it. If Fisher played for, I don't know, San Antonio in one of those championships and was part of like the Manu, that kind of thing, maybe he does get it eventually. I think it will still take some time though, because he just doesn't have the stats for that. But you're right, he was an incredibly good role player, fearless, never was scared of a shot, and he was the kind of player. Shaq talks about players like D-Fish and Ori, right? Like, we're going to do our thing. Kobe's going to give you 30. I'm going to give you 30. That's 60 points. It's not enough to win a championship. What do we need? When I dish it out to Ori, you got to knock that shot. When I'm triple teamed and I pass it to Fisher, can you hit the shot? And the answer from those guys is yes. We'll take those shots. We'll hit those shots. And those were the backbreakers, right? When Fish would hit a three, you'd be like, oh, man, we just can't catch a break, like Kobe's killing us, and then this little guy's gonna come off a screen and hit a 3-pointer. Like, what are we supposed to do now? And those players matter for that reason. And Coop was like the defensive version of that, where he's just shutting the water and really doing that dirty work to make sure everything kind of keeps operating cleanly. So yeah, it's gonna be a fantastic moment. I can't wait.
I know it's been the forum's call, but hearing Staples Center go Coop all at once will be special. It's weird, this far after Showtime, to have a player from Showtime be acknowledged this way is interesting, because we just had Pau Gasol, and Pau Gasol was 20 years after. So that's going to be crazy. I think it's just a well-deserved moment for him. But I wanted to say, to end off the segment, Derek Fisher, one of my friends that's a Laker fan, one of my good friends, Lauren, he always says, in the fourth quarter, Derek Fisher becomes an all-star.
No, that's facts. Yeah, fourth quarter, and some playoff series he became an all-star. It was amazing.
Game 3 against Boston doesn't get talked about enough in 2010. He took over that fourth quarter, and that was the only game of that series, like outside of Game 7, where Kobe was getting a little shot happy for me, reverting back to, the ways that he was pre-Gasol in many instances, and Fish came up huge, so big time.
I think there was that Spurs series where he just was like a monster from 3 that I remember, where I'm like, yeah, Fish was just like killing them. They just couldn't do anything about it. He was just hitting his shots. He was just annihilating them and really making it like impossible for the Spurs to win that series. So yeah, those are some great moments.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of series when you look back at Fish that he averaged like at least 50% from 3, but back then we didn't harp on the 3-point percentage as much back then. But like talking about it now, it's like, Jesus, man, like talk about clutch, because we've seen so many role players go cold in the playoffs just because the moment gets to them and more defensive pressure and whatnot. But he got bigger with the big moments, and that's why he ended up having 5 rings.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's why when they brought him back, it mattered a lot because he was able to do that. I'm looking here to see if I can. I think was it a 2003 series? It might have been 2000.
Well, you lost that one. So, that 2004 is the one he made the shot, 0.4. 08, your role players were the big reason you won. Obviously, Kobe was the best player in the series, but the Spurs role players outside of the big 3 looked so old that year. I remember, because I only know this guy rewatched the series a couple years ago.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Where's D-Fish's numbers here? Nah, it's not this series. Okay, I'll find it some other time. But yeah, there was one where he just went like bananas against the Spurs. I remember, and I was like, man, he's really just like just being absolutely incredible from 3. But yeah, we already know he makes a lot of big shots, just like Ori did a bunch of big shots. Okay, cool. So that ends that. we're looking forward to a couple key games. In the meantime, obviously, we'll see how the Intuit Dome continues to launch as they have Bruno Mars concerts now. And, a couple, I saw some people freaking out about the first day. I'm like, guys, it's the first day. They'll get it together. Like, I'm not worried about like some face scanning stuff that didn't work and stuff. It's tech. It's going to be, messy at first. That's why they do have that's the whole reason they did that. It was, let's work the kinks out for Bruno Mars, so we don't have to worry about our first night, on national TV is going to be a disaster. So they're fixing all that. They're going to work through that throughout the rest of the summer. A couple preseason games. I'm guessing by the time the regular season comes, you won't notice all that stuff. So anyway, looking forward to those things. We got the schedule one step closer. And for now, unless we get more news, we'll probably be really light on Lakers, Clippers, because until the training camp gets announced or whatever, we're probably not going to hear much unless the trade happens. All right, so we have a couple Sparks games to talk about here coming up. Upcoming games, we have one pretty soon in a couple days, Thursday, Sparks Mystics. It's a battle of the bottom here. Both teams have 6 wins. Both teams are at the bottom of the standings. I think the Sparks are a half game lower, but that'll change on this one if they win. Sparks at Mystics, the Page Cup, some people are saying it. Who's going to win?
I'm going to go with us only because it's a chance for us to actually win. So I'm going to give us the benefit of the doubt. But if I was an unbiased fan, I'd say the Mystics because it feels like they are more frequently in games late, even though we've collapsed several times late. But I watch a lot of their highlights and they're in games, but like they usually quality wins out.
Okay, I'm going to go Sparks as well. I think they'll take care of business here. And then the only other games to talk about here is Sunday, which will be Sparks at Wings. So again, they'll stay on the road. They'll be playing the Dallas Wings. For me personally, I'll just give my take here first. I think the Wings are going to take care of it. They're still, although they're similar to us near the bottom, they do have Enrique. They do have Sably. They have a shot if they can go on a run, and they have the skill to do it. So I think they're going to still say, hey, we can push for that 8 seed if we win 5 straight or something like that. I think you're going to see them really playing for their lives here. So I think Dallas takes care of business. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, Sautu's back, so I'm going to go with Dallas.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And those will be the only 2 games we have this week. It'll be a little light, but we will be talking about the third quarter awards. We'll officially be at the third quarter mark. Only 10 games left. When we have our next pod, we'll wrap up the 2 and then be down to the final 10. So we're going to do the third quarter awards. For those who are new or forgot, we do them every 10 games. We check in and kind of do the end of the year awards there, almost like a report card. That way at the end, we'll be able to say, okay, we've done this a few times. We have the information on who we voted for, and this is how it kind of evolved throughout. So really curious who we're going to pick for MVP, 6 women, most improved, defensive player, and then we'll take a look at what the peak performer stats are, which is who leads the team averaging in points, rebounds, and assists. So we'll do all that next week, and hopefully we got a couple wins to talk about because it's been a minute. So let's get some in there. All right. That's the end of episode 40 of Basketball on Figueroa. I'm Edwin Garcia. That was / is Darian Vaziri, a.k.a. Dime Dropper. We out.